Thank you very much. Yes, please.
We don't believe that.
Excuse me, can we have some discussion, please? I'd like to ask the committee, I'd like to know who's on that committee. I don't need to know it right now. But when I look at some of the non-teaching duties, you know, tracking absences and tardies, and the amount of time that we spend on the FCAT, can't we do something with scanners or barcodes or something? Could we look at that?
Yes.
Because I don't have a problem asking a teacher to call a parent, but when you're doing work that a computer, and not even a very fast computer, could do, I think it's time we moved away from that. I have to say, I don't have a problem with trying to get ahead of the class size because we know we're going to have problems, and I'd rather be ahead than behind for that. But I have a real concern that, you know, I've heard this talk about rigor and relevance for a while now, and it's absolutely true for some kids. But it means different things to different children. And I think we ought to start seriously thinking about whether every kid needs to take 7 periods of class every day. We had, some time ago, we had a 6-period day. We had a 7-period day, then we lost money, we went down to a 6-period day.
The legislature took that away.
The legislature took it away. We went back up to a 7-period day. There are some kids who ought to be taking, let's face it, 7 AP classes, probably for 3 years. But I'd like this committee to also look at the idea of study halls. Some kids don't need to be taken 7 periods. They need 6 with some extra help. That might reduce our risk of not having enough good teachers. I'd like it if whoever has that Florida State article would maybe leave a copy for the board to read. I'm a little concerned about the passing rates for AP classes. I think that it's important for kids to take them, and my own kids have taken some and not done terribly well, and certainly learned more than they would have if they hadn't taken them. But I think before we get too much further, we need to look at this, at the idea of AP classes and the idea of every kid has to be in class every minute. It's like we're just grimly pushing more stuff on children and teachers. And I think that for many children, high expectations, 7 periods are great. For some, I think a study hall would be a really good thing. I think it might allow some kids to connect. It might be a way to have clubs differently. I don't want to go with clubs for very long here, but I'd really like the committee to consider that. And this may have to come back in 2 or 3 sections of report. And I'm going to say again, I think sometimes expecting that principals will be the great communicators doesn't work as well as it should, and I would have liked to see that piece done differently. Thank you.
Yes. Cordell.
Thank you. I would hope that you would bring your suggestions to a workshop that we have so you could get consensus of whether the rest of the board would like to move in that direction or not. Since this is not a board decision but a management decision, I like your suggestions. I think those kinds of things need to move forward.
I didn't ask for a workshop. You haven't talked to me about workshops ever, but I don't think I asked for a workshop. I asked for a committee to consider it.
Well, you're one person on the board that is asking the committee to consider it, and
if the board doesn't want to do it, that's fine.
I'm just asking that you consider the other board members so that we can move it forward if everybody thinks that's a good idea.
I think that's a very bureaucratic way to stop progress, Mrs. Cordell.
Well, I'm sorry you feel that way, Ms. Olson.
Well,
It's the last comment I'll take. Thank you.
I concur with some of the things you say. So just, I would be more than willing to look at that. This is a management decision. I didn't find out about it until my son came home with some paperwork about it, and I'm on the school board. This is a decision that was made by the school board many, many years ago. As far as the 300 minutes a day, it's in the contract. Just because it's in there doesn't mean we have to enforce that. Where we're at right now, though, I believe this is legislation coming down from Tallahassee, and the idea behind the classroom size amendment is a wonderful idea. I think all of us believed in that when it was put before us. However, the implementation legislation is something that if we're going to be advocates, and I've been hearing that a lot, we as a community need to advocate with Tallahassee that just because the decisions were made before, they can change that now. And we all need to contact our representatives in Tallahassee, and everything that you've said to us here tonight, I feel what you're going through. Tell it to your legislator. Make it part of your criteria for electing your state representatives and your state senators, because they're the ones that are putting a lot of these things on top of us. So take it to Tallahassee too. We hear you here tonight, but take it to Tallahassee.
Thank you. We have finished our agenda, so the meeting is adjourned.